Did you get the new Copper Canyon too? Hi, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to work on a project recipe for the new Copper Canyon 2 collection that just came out. So if you got Copper Canyon the first time, it came in a secret box and we didn't know we were getting it, and everybody got so excited over it, and it was all gone in a flash. This time around, we have a very similar paper pack, very similar embellishments, very similar but different. And so the whole collection is new and beautiful and similar colors and similar style, similar themes. You're gonna love it. And I just did the project recipe recording for you, and it turned out super cute. So I'm excited to share this with you. I hope it's something that you'll be able to use. A couple of quick reminders. One is that if you're interested in doing my virtual Croptoberfest, I would love it if you'd sign up for that. The registration information or the link to that information is in the description of this video. So if you will go there and go ahead and get registered, I would love that so that I can start preparing for that event. We still have a little while, so don't stress, but I would love it if you would be interested in joining me for that. Also, beginning in November, we're going to be doing December Days, and I'm super excited about that. And looking at the new 8x8 albums that just came out, oh my gosh, they're so cute. And well, they're coming out today, so hopefully you have seen them already and you know that they're coming out. Super, super cute. I'm loving the fall one. I wish there was some special project we could do for that. I'll have to dream up something fun for next year. But super, super cute. I would love it if you'd like to do December Days with us. It's going to be fun. I've already started kind of sketching out what I want to do with those pages, and hoping I haven't actually assembled any of them yet, but I'm going to get to that as soon as our holiday collection drops, and we haven't gotten it quite yet, so I'm trying to be patient and wait. Anyway, it's going to be super fun, and I hope you'll join me for that. So today we are going to get to Copper Canyon 2. Let's check out my workspace and we'll get started. All right, so this is my workspace for today, and I apologize if I'm a little bit echoey, but because of our renovations that we're doing, there is, I think, going to be a little bit of sound bouncing back with this video today. And a few of you had said that you are interested in seeing what our renovations are looking like. So we're taking some pictures and we're going to put something together so you can see kind of what's happening over here. It'll be a bit yet before we are to the, showplace stage. Right now, I am, we've pulled up a portion of the carpet and we have done the electrical upgrades and patched all of those and done primer on the walls. So we're waiting for the primer to dry so that we can continue paint. And flooring, I think, is gonna go in starting on Monday. So that'll be good. Anyway, so I just wanted to talk to you really quick before we do the Copper Canyon project recipe about Copper Canyon 2. So if you are familiar with Copper Canyon at all, then you already know that Copper Canyon 1 came out in a secret box in 2023, and we loved it so much as a Creative Memories unit of all of the advisors, all of the customer base. Loved it so much that they came out with Copper Canyon 2, which is very similar to Copper Canyon 1. These embellishments and the rub-ons that are over here are from Copper Canyon 1. They're what I have left. I have no paper left at all. I used Copper Canyon, you'll recall, for all of the photos that I did of the Cliffs of Moher. We did using Copper Canyon, and it was super fun and turned out so beautiful. Just really, really lovely. Loved that. But I just wanted to share with you Copper Canyon 2. Copper Canyon 2, as I mentioned before, very similar to Copper Canyon 1. We've got the rub-on foil transfers, which are super fun. We've got trees and branches and corners and circles and drips and, just all kinds of patterns and things like that that you can rub on to your paper. And if you're not sure how to use these, just a really quick tutorial would be you would take this, you would cut the image that you want to transfer out, then you peel off the back, lay it where you want it to transfer, and use your multi-purpose tool to rub over the top of it until you can see that you're able to lift off the top sheet. That's just a really quick overview of how to use a rub-on transfer from Creative Memories. But super cool. We might use some of those today. I don't know for sure. We've got the stickers, the sticker pack. We've got the embellishments, which I'll go through. We've got the mats, which are super cool and have all that beautiful texture that matches the prints on the paper. Live for the moments you cannot put into words. Our mini adventures. That's a cool frame. Nice. Life through my lens. Another cool frame. Just a snippet of today. I like these that are kind of on half a sheet of matting, because you can do a lot with those to anchor your embellishments and things. Loving this moment. My heart is full. Trees, banners, wonderful. This is where I belong. That's a pretty wreath. My happy place. That's one of my favorite papers too. All right, so those are the 12 mats in the mat pack. Super cool. We've got the 3 sheets of stickers. Loving this moment. A lot of these are very much in line with what are on the mats. You've got the beautiful aspen trees, or maybe not aspens, but they're very, very nice pole trees, and you've got some leaves, some hearts, some sunbursts, and all the accents that you could want, right? And then some cool arrow stickers along with border stickers. So really, really nice additions. And then these are, I'm just going to set these originals to the side. Don't have much left of that, but it's nice that it coordinates with this so we can use it with our Copper Canyon 2 if we want to. So these are all of your different papers. Let's run through those real quick so you can see the full page version of these. So this one has kind of a crackling to it. And on the back is this multicolored, almost like a rusty, I don't know, rusty wall, rusty metal. That's what it reminds me of anyway. This one is more of a paint texture, stucco texture. This one would be more of a wood texture, more of a kind of a bubbly, painty, wet paint, like swirly texture. This one reminds me of rust. A couple of those are papers we're going to use today. So we've got this one that is a textured pale blue, and then the sand kind of color texture. This one that makes reminds me of like marble. Very cool stuff. This one with the bubbles. Again, it looks very much like paint or cement maybe. And then again with the teal and the paint. And this one, isn't this one gorgeous? I just think that's just beautiful. Couldn't you imagine using that one on one of our waterfall pages? Just beautiful. All right, so those are our papers that we can select from for the Copper Canyon 2. And having trouble finding a free spot on my desk. We'll just take a quick look at the embellishments. Bravo, camera, hearts. These are all very similar, as you would expect, to the sticker pack that we have. So we've got some banners, which are cool. Leaves, other plant type things, smaller little bubbles all together, moments, joyful state, unforgettable. Feathers, hearts, trees, thank you, and it's a happy day. All right, so lots and lots of choices there for embellishing. So I'm just going to kind of gather these together and set them to the side so that I can go ahead and get started on our project recipe for today. Today's project recipe calls for using 3 designer papers. I'm going to use 2 designer papers, and I'm going to use a piece of cardstock that coordinates. So we've got, oh, and I almost forgot. We are also going to use this punch today. This is the punch that came out with the Copper Canyon 2. This is called Ornate Ripples. And it's a very cool punch, I have to say. I really do like it. So we're going to use that one today, along with these others. So I have 2 pieces of bright white cardstock for bases for my pages. And I don't often use white for my page bases, but I decided to go ahead and do that today because of some of the white accents that are going to be in all of our embellishing, and because of the way that they designed this project recipe. I just thought maybe we would try white. We'll see how it goes. All right, and then I've pulled these 2 papers from the papers that we had to select from. We're going to use these 2 as our main pages, and then we're going to use this piece of Carmel Cardstock for our mats, the blue right here. So you can see that they included the mats as one of the designer papers that they used. I just didn't want to waste my designer paper to cover it up with pictures and only see that little bitty edge that went around. So I'm going to use cardstock. That's my justification anyway. All right, and you can see we're cutting a lot of strips because that's what this project recipe design is. We're going to punch 4 rows of our punch border. We're going to cut a bunch of rows of paper from designer paper number 2, and we're going to cut a bunch of tiny little pieces. That's what that looks like. Let me see here. Where in the world are those going to go? All these little pieces cut in half diagonally. All right, hang on a second. Let's figure out what those are. Oh, they've backed the punch. That's what that is. Wow. That's going to be trippy. Okay. Wow, okay, that's going to be tricky. That we'll have to play with that. Okay, so let's go ahead and do some cutting of paper. I'm going to move these base sheets out of the way. I'm going to grab my trimmer so we can get started with this. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and cut the mats first. Let's cut the mats first, shall we? All right, so we're gonna measure this out to 6 inches. I'm using my little cheater bar right here so that I can see where 6 inches is. I'm gonna cut that at 6, then we're gonna cut that into 3 mats that are 6 by 4 or 4 by 6. We'll see which direction they end up going. 1, and then 2, and 3. Okay, so this calls for cutting it at 4 1/4 and then cutting these 2 pieces off. But I think what I'm going to do is cut, such a toss-up. Do I want a long strip or do I want a square, or very nearly a square? Okay, let's go with the long strip. So we'll cut this at 4 1/4, just like they've got it here. And then we'll save this strip for another day. We'll turn this sideways and cut 2 pieces that are 3 1/4. They're going to go up here with the other mats. So 3 1/4, 3 1/4, and this piece is extra. So it'll go up there. All right, so then we are going to use this blue to punch our borders with. So let's go ahead and cut this one. And I'm going to turn this so that I'm getting all of that variation of color, or as much variation of color as I can, into those strips. So we're going to cut 4 strips that are 2 inches. So we're going to measure carefully each strip, and then we're going to stack them all together and trim off a little bit. So 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, and 2 inches. All right, and then these remaining pieces we'll get to in a second. So let's go ahead and we're going to take these 4 2-inch strips. We're going to stack them together, keeping them all nice and stacked together. We are going to trim off 2 inches of these. So we're going to measure that out to 2 inches. Go ahead and cut through all 4. Okay, so there's our 4 2 by 10 inch strips. And we're going to take 3 of the 4 remaining pieces, and I'm going to suggest that you take the 3 that have the most color variation on them. So I'm going to go with those 3, and we'll save this one. And we're going to cut and make triangle sets of triangles by putting opposite corners on our cutting line. Again, these are still stacked, so I have three of them all stacked together, and we're just making triangles. Okay, gonna set those up there. All right, now this remaining piece, we are going to take and we're going to cut this at 3/16. Let's see, yeah, so we're gonna cut 4 rows at 3/16. And 3/16 is less than one mark less than 1/4 of an inch. So that's going to be tricky to do on the right hand side of our trimmer. You could do it, but it would be a little bit of a guess. So I'm going to measure from this side of my trimmer, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. This piece of paper right now is 4 inches by 12 inches. So each time that I cut a piece off, I am going to scooch it over by 3/16 of an inch. So that means I'm just going to make sure that my paper is exactly 4 inches. So I just took off just a tiny little bit there. I'm going to scooch this over 3/16 of an inch. 3/16 of an inch, which honestly is a little bit tricky to do on the right hand side or on this side also, but then we're going to trim off a piece. And we're going to move over another 3/16. So 1, 2, 3/16. Now we're at 4 3/8, or well, we're at 3 5/8, measuring from the cutting line out. Trimming that off. These are just tiny little pieces. All right, so then we're going to go 3 more 16ths. There's another one. We need 1 more. So 1, 2, 3. And we're at 3 1/4. All right. So then we're going to set that paper aside. We're going to take each one of these 3/16 pieces. I'm going to see if I can stack them. I don't know if they'll stack very well. They're kind of narrow and a little tedious for doing that with, but if I can get them to stack and stay together, then it may be worth my while. All right, so I'm going to want to cut these at 3/4 of an inch. So if I can keep them together and get them to stay at 3/4 of an inch, and not be crooked. That's going to be the trick right there. Just using my right hand to keep them together, and then clamping them down with my trimmer, with the main bar on my trimmer. So I don't have to do too much back and forth that way, just in case the other pieces that are still on my trimmer shift, I'm less likely to cut them, because I don't want to do that. One more piece. Where can I put that where it will stay together? Right in here. Go right in here. All right, so here are all those itty bitty tiny little pieces, and hopefully I'll be able to make those work. Okay, so we're not gonna get those too far away. We're gonna use those in just a half a second. Okay, now we're gonna come in here with our Ornate Ripples punch, and we're going to punch 4 borders using this punch, just the good old punch and slide. All right, now you might not be able to see this super well on camera, but this is a punch where they've given us a little bit of help, and they have provided a little notch that I'm trimming off right now. The notch is helpful because otherwise the punch is so repetitive that it makes it difficult to tell if we have forwarded the paper far enough to go ahead and cut it or punch it again. And so the notch, by lining up the notches, then we're able to make sure that we have moved the paper far enough. So we're going to start the paper by pushing it all the way to the back of the punch against this shoulder in the back and lining it up at the marks in the front. We're going to punch, and as we slide, you can see as we go to match the design on the side here, there's a little notch right here where that point dips down, the little teardrop dips down. There's a notch on the bottom, and that notch, as you can see, prints in the paper right there. There's that notch. Okay, so we line up that notch, line up the design, and we're off to the races. All right, so there are our 4 borders. Okay, we're going to take each of these and we're going to trim off 2 inches of these. So I'm going to grab my trimmer. I think I just put it up there, but we're going to go ahead and cut 2 inches off of each of these. So if I can stack these up, I'm just going to take a minute and be careful and put them right on top of each other so that they match, patterns match. We're going to just trim 2 inches off. And then we're going to also take that little 2-inch bit, and we are going to take 2 of those and cut them in half. So 2 are going to stay whole for another day, and 2 are going to be cut right down the middle, which is a little bit tricky, but we're going to cut it down the middle lengthwise. So I'm going to do my best to keep it level and center it. So this line is at the half mark, and this line is at the ½ inch mark. So if I can make the points level and help them stay on that mark, or reasonably close, then we will be in business. All right, let's go with that. We cut right down the middle, okay? So there are those pieces. All right, now what they want us to do is to take our repositionable adhesive. We're going to flip this over. This is the side I'm not using. I'm using the other side. I'm going to take these little bits that I punched, and we're going to decide which side we like best. So we've got a brown side and a model-y side. Which side do we want to see? I think it will work better if we use the brown side because it will show up more in the on the blue side when we flip this over. So I'm going to take my repositionable adhesive and I'm going to just put it right down each of these little teardrop spaces, right? So just like so, all the way, working my way all the way down the border. Okay, then I'm going to take, and I'm going to use some tweezers just because I think I'll go less crazy if I use some tweezers. I'm going to just take each one of these little pieces. I'm going to make sure that the side I want to see is down. And I'm going to, oh, that stuck to my hand and I lifted it up. That's why that was kind of crazy there. So I'm just going to lay this on top. And I'm really hoping that that's not going to be visible. That that's narrow enough that I don't have an issue with it being seen. We're going to check it here in just a second just to make sure that this is working. All right, so a couple of these pieces are a little too wide. You can see them, and they look like they were so narrow. So I may have to trim those down. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and place these on here and hope that they all blend good enough. And maybe don't stick out. Not too bad, but it still kind of shows. So all right, so I'm going to trim the edge of that so that it matches, and That's what we're going for right there, without the little tiny bits that you can see. They're not as visible for you on the screen, so I think I'm going to leave them. But I also think that for some of us who are a little bit more particular about how things come together and what you can see and what you can't see, you might want to just make sure you're cutting these just the tiniest bit more narrow. So that would mean less than 3/16 of an inch, but not too much less than 3/16 of an inch. So yeah, kind of crazy. A little hard to judge. I'm just going to do the rest of these and we'll fast forward it. All right, so I am 3 short on this, and I'm wondering if, so they don't have these end pieces on here, so I think I'm going to steal these off the end and put them on here rather than cutting a big long strip. I'm just gonna big borrow and steal. So we're just gonna borrow these off the ends. It'll be okay. All right. Oh, wait a minute. I'm missing one from the middle. How did I do that? I skipped that one. And here's the one on the end from this piece. So we'll just take that one too. Maybe if I can get it to separate. There we go. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay, now we've got our 4 borders. Good to go. Okay, we're going to take our very first piece of base paper, Workspace page. I'm gonna switch this over so I can see this here real quick. So we're gonna find the center. Did you see I just turned this piece of cardstock? I don't know why I turned this piece of cardstock when it's exactly the same on every edge. All right, so just lining that up so that it's, and I thought it was stuck there because I tried to move it and it wouldn't budge. All right. There. If there's any residual sticky on my desktop, it will hold that in place. Okay, now I'm going to take one of these. Actually, before I do that, let's go ahead. It's going to be easier if we get these put down first. So I need 2 of these for each page. So we're going to go with those 2, and they're going to go down. So we need to find the center of, I'm going to pull out my centering ruler. All right, we need to find the center of our paper. So we are looking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, right there. Where my 0 line is, that's the center of my paper. Now, we are going to want to go 2 inches. We want 2 inches in the center, and then we need to mark where those other edges are. So I'm just going to grab a pencil here really quick, and I want to mark 2 inches from center. Here's center. That means that this mark right here is my 2-inch mark. Okay, so then we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, counting the 1/2 inch marks, and I'm just gonna put a little mark right there. That is no. I'm sorry. Strike that. Not what I want to do. I want 2 inches. 1 inch from each of the center points. So I'm just going to scooch this up just a little. I've got my 0 line on my 0 mark. It's all lined up. I'm going to put a little mark where the 1 inch mark is on either side of my 0. Okay, so right here on this line for 1, and here on this line for 1. That's going to give me 2 inches from the center. And that's where these are going to line up. So I'm going to grab my permanent adhesive. And we're going to add some permanent adhesive to the back of this first one. And then this is going to go down at that very first 1 inch mark. I'm going to make it just barely cover the mark and line up with the edge. I'm presuming that I cut my paper straight. Which sometimes is presuming a lot. I'm going to put that down straight. Now, if you're not sure and you want to make sure that you're putting it down straight, you can use your 0 centering ruler, line that up, and make sure it is straight. And then you can just take your paper and put it right up against the edge of your 0 centering ruler, and you know it's straight and good to go. Okay, so then we're going to take this other piece, get some adhesive on this. All right. And I'm going to put the more pretty colors going that direction. All right, so I want 2 inches in between. So I've got my mark at 2 inches. And I can line up my 0 centering ruler right along the top of this piece we already laid down at the 2-inch mark. And then I can be assured that this piece I'm adding is going to be straight and right at 2 inches. So I have 2 inches here and 2-inch strips. Okay, that's important because of the way that these photos line up. We want to make sure that we have those in the right spot. All right, so then we are going to take 2 of our borders that we just made, and we're going to add some, possibly add some more repositionable adhesive just to make sure they are good and stuck down, although I have quite a bit on here already from adhering these, covering these dots. I'm going to put my open end, the open end with that doesn't have the teardrop shape on it. That's going to go towards the outer edge. And I'm going to go ahead and put this a 1/2 inch higher than my paper that's already on here. All right, so like that. And I'm going to do the same thing with this other one. Okay, this is going to go a 1/2 inch. Well, so this is going to go a little more than 1/2 inch. I'm actually going 3/4 of an inch, but that's going to allow this teardrop to be a 1/2 inch away from the edge of the paper, which is what I want. Okay, so just like that. So let's grab our other base page. We're going to do the same thing with that one. So I'm going to line it up. Let's go about 1 inch up so I can actually see the inch marks on my mat that I'm using. I think that would be helpful. And we're going to go ahead and get our adhesive. On here. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. There's our middle mark. And again, I'm going to just raise this up just a smidge and use my pencil to mark where the 1 inch from the center is. So I have 2 inches here, marking it at the 1 inch mark on either side of my centering ruler. That way I can move my centering ruler over to that 1 inch mark. And quickly take my papers, my strips, and add them. Okay. All right. So there's that. And then we're going to do our borders that we punched. Get their repositionable adhesive. And again, I'm going to use the open end is going to go on the outside. I'm going to line up my zero centering ruler so that the 1/2 inch, so that I have a 1/2 inch beyond my 2-inch paper piece edge. And that's going to allow me to keep this nice and straight and put it down with no fuss, no muss. Right, again, lining this up 1/2 inch, using the grid marks 1/2 inch, and this one will go on easy too. Just like that. All right. Now, next step, we have these triangles to go ahead and mount. So we're going to have a piece or a one side here, one side here. Let me put those away because I don't think we're going to need them again right now. All right, so we've got our, oh, interesting. Okay. That's all right. You notice how this is off in the center? I think that's interesting, but my strips line up just perfect. So it's just the way that the punch worked. Okay, so we're going to take our squares that we cut into triangles, and these are going to be part of our decoration, part of our embellishing on our page. We're going to have a piece up here. Those two. And down here, we're going to do these two. And over here, we're going to do these two. All right. And then we're going to add our strips that we cut to those. So we'll just leave those there for a second while we add these. And since we're down to working with our smaller pieces, I'm just going to put those big pieces up there. And we'll get these triangles put on. So one of the things I love about repositionable adhesive is when you use when you are trying to adhere a triangle, you can get right out to the point on that triangle and make sure that it all is adhered, which is so nice. I don't know of any other adhesive I've ever used that allowed me to do that. So it's lovely. I'm going to go about halfway with this overlapping point. It's going to be even with the point on the triangle. Okay, so that's where I'm putting my points. I'm not really certain that that's where the creative designer who made this layout would have put hers, but that's where I'm putting mine. All right. And this one is going to point to roughly the center of that, center of the page right here. This one will overlap the same distance as the other. And then these two up here this one is going to be about 1/4 of an inch from the very corner of your page. And then this one will be, again, that this left point will line up with the center point on the triangle. Okay, so there's that. It looks to me like they've taken a sticker, a 12-inch sticker that they've trimmed and put it right down the middle of the layout. So let me grab my 12-inch stickers and we'll do that too. So they've used this one right here, which is already cut like a triangle. So we could use that right down the center. That would definitely bring in this teal color to the middle. So I think that would be a good thing. We're going to make it go just beyond the 2-inch mark. So we'll go with that. And then we'll trim that off in the center. And put that back. We might never know, we might use it. All right. Let's go with the other one. And we'll turn it so that it's pointing to the other side. And then just so that we can make sure we've got it in the right place, I'm going to line up these two pages. Like that. We're going to come out here. It's going to go right about there, but I'm going to line it up here. Make sure it's straight. All right. And that piece will go back in here, back on top of that sticker. All right. Now, let's see, what else? They've taken these smaller bits of what's left of the punched layout and used them decoratively. And I'm just going to trim off a couple of little stray pieces here. I've got these kind of going across. Kind of like that. Which I suppose would be okay. I'm going to add it mainly over the brown bits, the brown paper, so that we can still see the marbling of the triangle that is marbled. I think that would look better. Maybe. Come up here. Do this one up here. This one will go like so. All right. That one's just extra, so we'll just set it over there. And then we just need some, we need to put our mats on here. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, so we're going to put, these mats are going to go on here like so. Okay, and I'm going to use my repositionable adhesive on my mats because I don't have the photos that are going to be used on here yet. And you never know, I might want to turn these. So just because this is not already slated for photos, I'm going to just use my repositionable adhesive to hold my mats in place so I don't misplace them while this waits for photos. Okay. I want to make sure that this vertical one is the same distance from the center line as the vertical one on this side. Assuming that I'm going to have another vertical photo that I'm placing in there. And then these are going to go roughly the same distance apart. And fairly close to that midline. All right, so just like that. Let me grab the embellishments that we've got. We'll see what we can put together. I love these huge titles. The Good Life. Can't you just see that going on there? I think it would be cool to kind of incorporate it in with our embellishment cluster that's up there. And maybe add something that has a little foiling on it. Just I don't know if I like that or not. Hang on. We're going to work on this just a little bit. If we did something like that. And then we could use this little bit and something over there. Maybe that heart. Moments. I think I'm going to go with that. Remember, when you do your embellishing, odd numbers are what you're looking for. And I have found that it's helpful if you find a focal point and then what we call in floral arranging a line, a focal point, a line, and a little additional element. So that's kind of my rule of thumb when I do my embellishing. I look for a focal point, a line, and just a little something additional to add. And that's what I go with. And most of the time, I'm pretty happy with how it turns out. And sometimes you have more than just one line element. You can see I've got kind of this element. We've got that feather that's a little bit of a line. We've got this ribbon that's a little bit of a line, but it's okay. I feel like it looks all right together. So that's what's important. You like it. And I could pop this up, channel my inner Melissa Ullman, and pop it up with foam squares. But I think I'm not going to do that just now, so that I can keep this layout as a whole nice and flat. Once in a while, I think that's okay to do. All right, so that is our project recipe for Copper Canyon 2. Here is our sample, and there's my version. Using slightly different papers, but again, most of the color scheme blends so well together that you could use any of these papers and you would really, I think, be very happy with them. Now notice that I didn't flip my papers over. They used one side on the bottom and the other side on top. I didn't choose to do that. I liked the marbling and that rusty paint, and so I used that. Plus, I think I liked that better because of The third paper that I had chosen, this cardstock, was brown enough. I didn't feel like I needed to add that brown in there. The brown is picked up in what we added to our border and in the elements that are on the sides. So we are good there. All right, let me know what you think. I always like to see your comments. And I hope this has been helpful and enjoyable for you. And I hope you'll make this project recipe. It's a lot of fun. Until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments. Enjoy your day.